Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to break out of character this evening and tell you a love story. For you parents out there who might remember the year 1980, there were two significant events that happened that year. On May 18th, 1980, there was a volcano that erupted in Washington state. Mount St. Helens exploded, filling the atmosphere with lava and volcanic ash. The following day, I was at the Smithtown Railroad Station waiting for a train to Penn Station. Everyone on the platform was talking about the volcanic explosion. My eyes feasted upon a very attractive brunette who was sitting on a bench reading Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer. I immediately launched into my pickup line. "Is this the train to Penn Station?" She said yes. And I said, "I see that you're reading Henry Miller." "Well, I have the New York Times. Why don't we sit together, and if you get bored with our conversation, you can open your book and I'll get the message. If I get bored, I'll open the Times." Well, we sat together and we talked, and we talked, and we talked. And then she had to get off to change trains in Jamaica. I asked her if I would ever see her again, and she said, "Sure, I'll give you my number." I called her a few days later, and suddenly my life was filled with romance. We went to the movies, the museums, plays, Broadway shows and concerts, picnics in Central Park. She came to my concerts. She even sat and listened to me practicing while she read or wrote poetry. And then suddenly, after 6 months, she broke it off. She said she wasn't ready to be tied down. I was devastated. But I threw myself into my work. I practiced, I worked on reads, I rehearsed, I composed, I played concerts, I taught music lessons. I did everything to forget her. And then, a week later, on December 8th, 1980, 30 years ago yesterday, one of my favorite musicians was gunned down in cold blood in a senseless act of violence across town from where I lived. John Lennon was dead. So many of us musicians who loved his work and felt completely empty inside. It was impossible to comprehend. I was in a state of shock. I couldn't move. I couldn't sleep. The next day, the phone rang. It was her. She said, "With John gone and us broken up, something is missing. It feels like the music died. Could we get together for coffee and talk?" I said yes, and we did. And we talked, and we talked, and we talked. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have not stopped talking yet. Yes, Mrs. Rutkowski and I have been together ever since that day 30 years ago today. And she is even here tonight. She had no idea I was going to do this, so I don't want to embarrass her any further by pointing her out to you. I'll let Roger do it. Roger, where is Mrs. Rutkowski? Maria, would you please deliver these to Mrs. Rutkowski? Now, some of you think that I'm pretty nutty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if it were not for that woman there, I guarantee you I would be a psychopath. And I'm not making this up. Ask around. And there's another reason to be thankful for Lisa Binder Rutkowski. She is a social worker who specializes in adoption. She and her agency find couples or single persons who are courageous enough to adopt older and hard-to-place children. Lisa Binder Rutkowski is a hero to many of these children. Nationwide, 500,000 children are in foster care. Nearly all children entering foster care are victims of abuse and neglect. Many live in a succession of foster homes. Some end up living in an institution for years. The older they get, the less likely they are to adopt. More than 20,000 children a year leave foster care at 18 years old without a family. They have no one to spend holidays with or to call if they are sick or need advice. Many of these children become homeless, welfare dependent, or incarcerated. But thanks to Lisa Binder and her agency, they work hard to find families for these children. And John, if you're listening, we're going to dedicate our performance to your music. And George, if you're listening, and Paul and Ringo, if you're in the house, stick around till after the concert. There's a lot that I want to chat to you about. And ladies and gentlemen, the John L. Miller Great Neck North High School Symphonic Band pays tribute to 4 prominent artists of Western civilization: John, Paul, George, and